Oh, what is the Upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 96, Miko ranting of my little hockey show, where once a week I go through all of the news in the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams in the NHL. And it's a big episode today because we're essentially at the end of the NHL season, which means it's playoff time, baby, and most of the playoff matchups are set. The East playoff matchups are all set up, so we're going to go through the Eastern matchups, and we're going to do some predictions. We're going to go through the teams, and yeah, just break all that down. There is a lot of major news outside of the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of teams that haven't made the playoffs, so we'll take a little... we'll pour one out for the teams that didn't make the playoffs this year. It was a really fun race right down to the wire in the East, and we got some big milestones to talk about this week, and some firings, and it's basically official. The Arizona Coyotes are no longer going to be there. They are off to Utah. So I'm not going to go into huge details about that huge story right now, because that more or less is going to break out more tomorrow and possibly throughout the weekend. But I basically touched on it last episode, and that's essentially what we still know is everything that I said last week. So yeah, they're basically going to confirm that stuff this week. So that's extremely unfortunate. Like, it is really upsetting. Like, I've seen some of the videos now of Arizona Coyotes fans, putting out their videos of, I'm losing my team and this sucks. And, me, I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, so I'm not probably in my lifetime ever going to experience the Toronto Maple Leafs leaving. But, man, that's got to be really gutting. If the only silver lining that you can have out of this is that you can go root for another team now, you can go follow your team still. I mean, even though they're not in your city no more, it's still the team that you were following, so you can follow them to the new city. I would completely understand if that fan base would be extremely salty now towards Utah, but it's not really their fault. In my eyes, they're kind of saving your organization, and yeah, so we'll see. It may not be the end of Arizona and the NHL. I kind of feel like it might be, at least for this 5-year. They have a 5-year window for Arizona to come back in expansion, but if I was whatever the owner is, I would take that $1 billion and just let someone else deal with the Arizona thing. It's been nothing but a friggin' headache, and that's what I would do personally. Take the money and run. So that's my 2 cents on that. But we'll have plenty of time to talk about and break down the move to Utah and all that kind of stuff. There'll be plenty of time in the off season to break all that down when more of the official details break out with that. But it really sucks, man. That just really sucks. I mean, I feel for all the Arizona Coyotes fans out there. I myself was kind of becoming, I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I was rooting for them, like just the team mostly. Like, I like a lot of the players that have played for Arizona. Really like Schmaltz. I really like Keller, one of the most underrated superstars in the league. Yeah, man. So hopefully now that everything is like set and done, they even rattled off some big wins there at the end of the season, which, hey, at least they're going out with a bang there, taking down, I think it was Dallas and Vancouver or something. So yeah, that's cool. They didn't live up through their expectations this season. That huge losing streak was, I think, clearly a pure reasoning of all the distractions around the movement or the non-movement of the team seriously affected the on-ice product of Arizona this year. So here's to them, hopefully to a clean slate, and hopefully they can just finally move on and stop talking about will they or won't they move, because now we don't have to. They're moving, so that is that. It sucks for Arizona, but I think in the long run, and even just right now, it's better for the NHL to not have one of their teams playing in a small building, though it was a fun little experiment, I guess, but it honestly should never have happened in the first place. There were so many suitors, and yeah, I think it should have probably been a really good trial test to maybe bid it out to a few of those suitors like Houston and Utah, and maybe even have a few games played over there in Quebec City just to see what would it be like. I don't know. Like, I think that would be fun. The NHL is not a very creative organization, though, so yeah, they're just like, yeah, just do what you think. Oh, you say you're gonna get the land, okay, and finally they're pulling the plug. So there you go. That's the little Arizona corner. I know everyone's very exhausted with the Arizona talk, but since there's a couple of amazing products that have come out of Arizona, such as Austin Matthews, who is still stuck on 69 goals. I've already swallowed that pill that he is going to be at 69 and not hit 70. I thought 100% they wouldn't play him in the Florida game the other night, and he was in there. I didn't get to watch that game, but he didn't get the goal. So tonight against Tampa Bay, question is, will he be in there again? Are they going to roll the dice a second time? And I don't know. I hope that there will be some mutual respect between the two squads, because Kucherov is at 99 assists. Matthews is at 69 goals. Maybe they can just go out there like, no, don't just let Matthews score and Kucherov get an assist, but don't go out there and kill each other. You two aren't playing each other in the playoffs. There may be potential you meet each other further down the road, but there's no reason to maim and injure and fuck up each other and ruin a potentially amazing first round of the playoffs by injuring your superstar. So just go out there, have a clean game, just play the game and get points. And just, yeah, let's hit some milestones tonight, folks. Let's hopefully Matthews gets 70. Won't be shocked if they shut him down. Same with Kucherov. It would be insane. I feel like this would be one of the first times, if not the first time, one of the very few, that the NHL has two 100 assist players in the same season, which is banana land crazy. Absolutely banana land crazy. It's been a wild statistical year in the NHL with potentially the 70 goal scorer, but without a doubt, it is the highest goal-scoring season we've had in the salary cap era. Matthews passed Ovi at 65 goals. So, yeah, it's an impressive freaking season regardless if he gets one more goal. I know people will look back on it like, oh, he was 1 from 70, but I honestly think 69 is cooler because I'm a loser like that. So, it is what it is. If he gets it, awesome. If he doesn't, it doesn't really matter that much. I think we're all looking forward to the playoffs, and we got to shout out the other guy first before we get to the playoff talk, but Connor McFrickin' Connor McDavid, 100 assists. This guy is a mutant. I was getting nervous there because they shut him down for like 3 straight games. I'm like, okay, like is he not gonna? And then he comes in, slaughtered the San Jose Sharks, and I mean slaughtered them. Gut that fish open, pulled everything out of it, took a dump in that fish, sewed it back up, and then I don't know what you would do with it after that. A ripped open shark that was doesn't matter. Wow. So McDavid gets it. He gets the point, gets a goal. Probably could have had a lot more points, but let the rest of the team get some more cookies and stuff. Hyman at just an outrage, like 50, who knows how many in the 50s now he is, just, amazing. But 100 assists for Connor McDavid, and I'm just going to hope that Kucherov gets it as well, puts them in elite company. Like, I think they said only 4 or 5 people have had 100 assist seasons. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's okay, but regardless, that puts McDavid / Kucherov in very high company, and it's nothing short of a spectacular season. I remember when I first noticed McDavid was in the 90s, and I was just like, holy, that's absolutely insane. And here he is at 100. So congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid really turning this wacky season they have had. I mean, it's mostly been smooth sailings, but what an insane start. That'll be something we talk about at some point. Maybe at the end of the playoffs, we'll do that retrospective of all the craziness that was this season. And it was really crazy. And let's go before we dive into, again, we're probably just going to keep pushing the playoff stuff further back, but that's fine. We'll pour one out here for the teams that didn't make it, that really tried all the way down. And we'll start with the Detroit Red Wings. God dang, man. That is a soul-crushing defeat, a just miss, and they tried all the way down. This last week for them, watching them win those games and those celebrations, man, at least they had that. They really went down fighting all the way to the end. Unlike last season, they pulled the plug at trade deadline, and this season, Patrick Kane in there. Patrick Kane alone is a huge story of this whole year. Like, wow, did he ever just knock down the doors of expectations that I had for him? Like, I was like, oh, maybe a point every other game. This guy is as good as he's been in like 7 years. Patrick Kane has been amazing, and he almost did it, man. He almost got them there. What a fun ride that was. But yeah, soul crushing for Detroit. They continue to get better and better. So they're going to be in the mix again. Hopefully. I mean, you can't guarantee that stuff, but they need goaltending help, and the defense is going to get a little bit stronger. Those young guys, they have so many good, impressive young guys. That Edvinsson finally getting some time in the lineup in the NHL, and he scored that beautiful goal there against the Leafs or whatever. Like, he's going to be something, I feel like, for Detroit. And yeah, it's an encouraging season. I mean, yes, it's a bitter pill to swallow, missing again for 8 years in a row now for Detroit. So, I mean, is it that bitter? Because, I mean, you've been swallowing the pill now for quite a while, and all those cups that are in still recent memory, at least in my eyes, it sucks, but I think Detroit's time is not that far away. Ottawa, Buffalo, I mean, Buffalo went down again, but yeah, see, the thing with Ottawa and Buffalo is that their things have been like rough starts, and again, they got off to rough starts this season. Ottawa, in particular, another really rough start to the season, and yes, down the stretch they looked encouraging, but I'm not buying that shit this time. So I fell for it last year, really rooting for Ottawa and Buffalo. I came in thinking Detroit was the weakest. It was a close-ish battle between the three teams: Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit. But yeah, I think it was Buffalo was the one I thought looked the strongest. The goaltending was a huge question mark and a big gamble. It didn't really pay off for him this year, but Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen looks really good. Ottawa, I don't know, man. Things just don't seem great in Ottawa still. It may be like a potential fail of a rebuild. It's still, I think, too early yet to say, but it's starting to look that way a little bit there. And then with Buffalo, again, down the stretch, looked great, and we'll see what happens. Detroit just ran out of time, and just that the couple of lulls there that they had in the season, Dylan Larkin getting hurt really hurt them at points. Just really fucked them up. Dylan Larkin really showed his worth to Detroit this season, how important he was to how that team operates. But yeah, sadly, it's better luck next year for those teams. Those are the really bitter pills to swallow. The Pittsburgh Penguins. So the two teams that I was rooting for to make it was Pittsburgh and Detroit. No disrespect to Washington. My only thing with Washington is I want Ovechkin to save his powers for the regular season goals. Like, it's great that he's in there. I love that. That's so cool. But at this point, like, sadly, the playoff goals don't count towards that record-breaking Gretzky thing. So I just wanted him to conserve energy. But if he goes out there, I'm happy. I would have preferred it be Crosby right now, just because he just was willing that team, and I really wanted him to just have one of the greatest older guy seasons in the league. But yeah, Crosby's Penguins don't make it. Detroit, I was also rooting for them to make it in, because I think it'd be really good for the NHL for Detroit to make it back in there. And no disrespect to the Islanders and, again, the Capitals. Islanders, they just play a style of hockey I'm not a big fan of, but with Patrick Waugh behind the bench right now, they're pretty exciting, and I'm a big fan of Matthew Barzal. I think he is so friggin' good, and just I still waiting for him to break out. He's kind of like a Svechnikov for me. It's like, if he was on other teams, he would be, Svechnikov should be a 40, 50 goal guy, and Barzal should be like an 80 assist guy. He should be breaking 100 points, I think, but it's cool that they're in there. But yeah, Penguins not making it, that sucks as well. The first time in Crosby's career he's missed 2 years in a row, which everyone's up in arms about. But, like, do you not remember Mario Lemieux when he first came in, he missed the playoffs for like the first 6-7 years of his career. And yeah, look back on Mario's career, like how many years he lost down the stretch to lots of things. Like those early years, were wasted with terrible Pittsburgh Penguins teams. So Crosby only missing it at this point in his career. He's only starting to miss now. Pretty friggin' impressive. So yeah, I know people are upset about it, but I don't think Crosby, well, obviously he's a competitor. Obviously, this eats at him, but I don't think at this point he's going to leave. I just don't think it's going to happen, which, it's for me, it's a little boring. I really want him to go chase a cup with McKinnon and just win, bro. Just go out in there and be the best. Like, if you're going to be on teams that aren't going to make it, then just go out and be on teams that are going to make it. Yeah, so also with Crosby, he broke a big milestone as well. He has reached 1,000 career assists, only the 14th ever in NHL history to do so. So now people are bringing up the conversation again. Is Crosby on the top 4, the Mount Rushmore in NHL history? For me, of course he is, because I grew up in his era. It's hard for me to have Bobby Orr's and Gretzky's, like, they're on it, but it's hard for me, like, I just didn't grow up in that era, so I didn't get to witness it live. I didn't get to experience those conversations with the people in the moment. I have my era, and I would just kind of stick with my era to make my Mount Rushmore. Like, of course, like, there's, like, the Mount Rushmore, but I think that's what we're talking about here. Is Crosby on the Mount Rushmore now? And who does that bump off? I don't know, but I think Crosby has a very strong case, absolutely, to be in there. And yeah, who knows how much further he's going to go. People are talking, he can go to 42, he can go to 44, he can go as long as he wants. I feel like it might be almost like a Lidstrom kind of retirement for Crosby, where it's like, yeah, he can still go, but it's just like, he just might be like, I think I'm done. Like, I'm good. I'm good here. And it's like, not everybody has to go until they stop producing points. So some guys just they can offer up more, but they don't have to anymore. And Crosby's done literally everything that you could do in the NHL. At this point, he's just solidifying and cleaning up whatever he wants on that resume. He's only adding at this point. But 1,000 career assists, freaking bananas, man. Absolutely freaking bananas. And I sort of just kind of blew over this with Buffalo, but yeah, they fired their head coach. Don Granato is Don, get out of here. Oh, no. I don't know. But yeah, it's not fun to joke about people getting fired, but yeah, sadly, Don Granato is the sacrificial lamb for the Buffalo Sabres this year. I don't think it's necessarily his fault that the Sabres didn't make the playoffs this year. I think he's done a pretty okay job, but yeah, I think there's probably better coaches out there for the Sabres. Can I pull that coach out of my head right now? No. I'm not going to sit here and joke like I know who's out there and would be a great fit for the Sabres right now, but you look at that team, they're young, and I think they had the right idea in the offseason. They were adding in some of those veteran players like Eric Johnson. Did Eric Johnson change the Buffalo Sabres? No, but they have the right idea. Bring in some more veterans. The goaltending, I mean, you could take the gamble again and try out Pekka Luukkonen and Devin Levi again and hope that it works this time. You gotta, like, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen looks a lot better, so we'll see, man. Like, it's tough. Buffalo needs more help with some veteran leadership. It's a very young team. That blue line is still very young, and the goaltending is young, so yeah, it's a young team, so yes, there's lots of potential and expectations. We'll see which coach. They haven't announced a new coach. They don't have to rush into that. They have all offseason to think about it and make their decision. So hopefully they take their time with it. There is rumors that they're more than likely to just promote their AHL coach, who I believe has been doing well down there. So I like that. I would prefer other people to have a shot at it instead of recycling the same names of guys that have been fired time and time again. And that kind of thing. I prefer a guy getting a new shot. Like, to the fact that Babcock got hired again still just is shocking to me. Like, that's so wild and insane. And if I was like an up-and-coming coach in the AHL somewhere who, has been waiting for my shot, and you see something like that go down, I fucking lose my mind. I just go insane about it. But yeah, sadly, Buffalo down another coach. We'll see who comes in next year. Again, it's not a decision they have to rush into. Hopefully they take their time, find the right candidate, but that sucks. That's 13, I believe that's 13, maybe 14 years now that Buffalo hasn't made it into the playoffs, which is rough, man. Really rough. Like, I remember back in 06 and stuff when Buffalo was in their heyday, like a really good, strong team. It was like, man, this team's going to be a problem forever. And then, yeah, they haven't been a problem forever. So, man, who knows when it's at this point, it's just like, who fucking knows? Like, you can put 1980s Gretzky on this team and who freaking knows? It's Buffalo. You just can't be sure with it. But, I'm always rooting for the underdog team. I want that rivalry, I guess, with the Leafs and Buffalo to be reunited again. It's always better when both teams are good and competitive and fighting it out. And a lot of the Leafs' bigger rivalries and rivals are just not in that position right now. But maybe next year with Buffalo. And speaking of next year, will Ovechkin reach his 19th 30th goal season? Because this year he just did his 18th 30 goal season in his career, which is absolutely insane. I think that's the most of all time. I would not be shocked if that is the fact, but how crazy is it that Ovi managed to hit 30 goals this season with the start that this guy has? Just look at the start he had and just be amazed, in awe that Ovechkin did it. And it was the All-Star break where he turned it all around. He went back home to Russia. Who friggin' knows what he did over there? I'm not saying nothing. But it just so happens he goes back home, he comes back, and he's a new man. And I think he scored 22 of his 31 goals. He scored 22 of them down the stretch since that All-Star break. So it worked, whatever the hell he did. Do it twice this offseason and come back and kick it off again. And maybe he scores 40 next year. I don't know, but whatever he did, I don't know if what he did, and if he could do it here in North America, but I don't know. I'm not saying nothing. But congratulations to Ovechkin. 30 goals yet again, 18th time. That is just insane. Speaking of insane, the New York Rangers might be insane because they won the cursed President's Trophy. Oh no. So, if you don't know, the President's Trophy, that goes to the team who got the most points in the regular season. And they tend to never win the Stanley Cup. The last time a team did it was the Chicago Blackhawks, with the asterisk that they won it in the lockout shortened years. So, it's still a Stanley Cup, but yeah, the President's Trophy, generally don't win the Stanley Cup. A lot of expectations get put onto you because, you got the most points, so that means you're the best, right? Not necessarily. I mean, it means you had a really great regular season and perhaps had some really good luck and a lot of things went your way. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win the Stanley Cup, and that is what some fans put on that team when they win the President's Trophy. Not me. I don't do that no more. Absolutely not. Thankfully, I guess, the Leafs never win the President's Trophy. They rarely ever win it. I don't think they've won it in my existence on this earth. I can't tell you the last time they've won it. They've had good teams, but they've rarely ever been the best team. That's just from my memories. I could be wrong, but I don't remember them winning no President's Trophy. They were expected to do it this year. They had I'm not going to say an easy track to it, but they had a good shot and they didn't do it, and I'm fine with that. I don't really care. I just really don't care at all about the President's Trophy. Some people care a lot about it. That's cool because home ice advantage can mean a lot to certain teams. To other teams, like the Leafs, I don't think home advantage is all that big an advantage for Toronto, mostly because of the atmosphere, and it just seems the jitters get to them more so at home. I feel like they play better on the road, but yeah, it does mean things, but yeah, for me as a Leaf fan, it doesn't mean much to me, but congratulations for a very impressive season from the New York Rangers, and yeah, they're going to be a handful to deal with in the playoffs, and that's enough teasing. Let's talk about the freaking playoffs, everybody, and though I'm talking about the Rangers right now, we're not going there yet. We're going to the main one. We're going Toronto, and it's the fucking Boston Bruins again. What is this, the fifth time now? These two teams have met each other since 2013, correct me if I'm wrong, and it has never gone the Toronto Maple Leafs way. Is there controversy behind that? Oh, depends who you ask. If you're asking me, don't ask me, because I'm not happy. Am I happy that they pulled the Bruins? No, but I would prefer the Bruins than the Panthers. Now, is that anything? I'm not saying that in any confident, dick-headed way. I just don't want anything to do with the Panthers. That team is mean, and there's just so many guys that I just want nothing to do with. And there's almost as equally amount of guys I don't want to deal with on the Bruins either, but more so on the Panthers. I don't want to deal with Bruins. I don't want to deal with any team in the East right now, honestly. Even the Capitals, because then there's that pressure of like, oh, they're the weakest team coming in. The Leafs should slaughter them. And then they don't. And it's just like, another massive disappointment. So it doesn't matter who the Leafs drew this fucking playoffs. I'm not going in all that confident, honestly. That's just me. I'm going in as trying to be as neutral as possible. I don't have any expectations that the Leafs should slaughter the Bruins. Absolutely not. Even if the Bruins are coming in mangled and injured and lost 10 games in a row, never taking the Bruins lightly ever again. Even though I did just like a year ago when I was like, oh, Bruins aren't going to make the playoffs. And then they had the greatest season in NHL history. So I won't let it go. Friends won't let it go. So let's dive in. Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Boston freaking Bruins. Again, so we'll go through what as at least listed as the lineups for the teams. Now, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, this has been an ongoing issue for years now, this blender of lineups, and it's pretty hard to get a consistent read on what the lineups are going to be. But going in, let's just go with this lineup right here. Line 1, Tyler Bertuzzi, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner. Good lineup, man. That is a very nice looking line right there for the playoffs. You got Tyler Bertuzzi, who has been hot going down the stretch. He's only got 43 points in the season, but 21 goals, 22 assists. And we know what he brings to the playoffs, what he brings to his game. That snarl, that fucking annoyance, minute to minute, talking, chirping you, stinky glove in your face, and in front of the net, battling nonstop. So that is the element that we're going to hopefully get out of Bertuzzi. He's been showing it off a lot lately, so fantastic. You got Austin Matthews, the what we hope to be our game breaker in this series. 80 games, 69 goals, 107 points, and on his lineup, one of the best passers in the game, Mitch Marner. He had 59 assists, 85 points, only gotten to 68 games this year. So yes, down on his stats normally, but honestly, a pretty standard Mitch Marner season. Almost 30 goals. If he played a full healthy season, I think he would hit like a 30-70 season. He probably would have had 100 points. Slow start, but we know what Marner's game is coming in. He tends to kind of disappear in the playoffs. We really need a top-notch Marner series. We don't need a top-notch Marner game. We need a top-notch Marner series. He needs to be in there every game. He can't just explode for 4 points in a blowout victory. We need him every game to be fucking a problem. And he's shown it off a little bit with he's been finishing checks, which is encouraging, but he still seems like he is easy to break down mentally, and the Bruins are the masters of breaking people down. Marchand is literally the messiah of this, and we got to be careful with that. So hopefully Marner can keep the demons out of his head and just play his game. Line 2, Matthew Nyes, John Tavares, William Nylander. Nylander, the best season of his career, 40 goals. I don't know if he's going to get 3 points tonight, get 100 points, but 97 points, the best year of his career. And he's been, I would say, of the big four, Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander. Nylander's been the most consistent throughout the playoff history of this team. He's generally been the guy. He's been the most consistent. He scored the biggest goals at the times that we need him. So we're looking for that performance and more. We have to get that and more now. And is John Tavares going to get exposed with him? You know, he's fallen off a little bit this year. 79 games, 64 points, 28 goals, 36 assists, and we know he's not the fastest. He's never has been. That ended up being kind of an issue. He got exposed with that last year, and they still have not really done John Tavares on the wing. They have not decided to make that move, and at this point, it's too late. If they want to just decide they're going to pull that out midway in the series, it's going to go badly again. So John Tavares is going to be the center unless injuries prevent this, because they haven't really tested that consistently throughout the season. So again, Matthew Knies was a huge part of the Leafs winning that series last year, and Matthew Knies is looking to do that again this season. 79 games, 35 points, 15 goals. I mean, it's not earth-shattering. He didn't explode this year offensively. I wasn't really expecting him to explode offensively yet. He's only 21. He's building other aspects of his game. The physical side, he's 6'3", 217 pounds, so he is going to be the Bertuzzi element of this line. He's going to be banging and crashing, getting into the dirty zones, and being a ruckus out there. He is going to be the guy annoying you and hopefully making room for Tavares and Willie to cook. So it's a good-looking lineup there. I like line 2. Line 3, we got Robertson, who has been on fuego down the stretch, which is awesome. Fucking great time for this kid to start finding his goal-scoring touch. He's up to 14 goals now, which I know isn't a lot, but in 55 games over the course of an 82 season, that's easily 25-ish goals. So looking good right there. And then you got Pontus Holmberg and Noah Gregor rounding up that line right there. Now, I can't lie, I haven't been watching a lot of Pontus Holmberg and Noah Gregor closely, but in 53 games for Holmberg, he's got 16 points, and Noah Gregor 12 points. So now we're starting to see the deficiencies and the thing that comes with having such high salary caps in your top 6. Your bottom 6 is going to suffer a little bit. Now, not to say that Pontus Holmberg and Noah Gregor are bad players. It's just that they're not the most ideal situation for the third line, but Nick Robertson has a great goal-scoring touch. Where the hell is Max Domi in all this? Is he injured right now? Injured. He isn't. Okay, he's just on scratch right now. So, yeah, they're slightly injured. So, we're going to have Max Domi in there, and Bobby McMann are going to be in there, I would imagine, as well. Hopefully, anyway, especially Max Domi. Max Domi may slot in. I feel like he's still going to slot in on that third line, but they could move him up. Depends where that goes. But fourth line, you're looking at Connor Dewar, David Kampf, and Ryan Reeves. Now, that one seems pretty official. They could move around Holmberg and or Gregor in and around that fourth line. But obviously, David Kampf, he's kind of the supposedly shut down center. Has he really done that? He's had better years. And then Ryan Reeves, the Ryan Reeves element, obviously. He's going to hopefully shut down, or at least mitigate the shenaniganery that we know the Boston Bruins are going to bring to this series. Hopefully Marchand won't be licking nobody. Hopefully no freaking slew footing. But we also have to be careful with Ryan Reeves. Now, hopefully he doesn't run in and get a huge suspension or take a really bad penalty early in the game. He's probably going to be looking to set the tone early, and just be smart about that, Ryan. Don't do something stupid. And then Connor Dewar, he's been a decent, solid addition down there, and yeah, those are going to be your penalty killers for the most part. And the penalty kill has not been good at all for the Leafs. That worries me a lot. They tried to address the penalty kill issue, and it doesn't seem to have worked, and it's not getting a whole lot better. So, yeah, there is, it looks like the lineup here, never mind, sorry. I was just looking at these arrows and what that meant. It doesn't really mean anything. Now, the defensive lineup, you're looking at Morgan Rielly, Ilya Lyubushkin. I mean, that it's not ideal to have Lyubushkin, but he seems to be the best fit, at least for now, for Morgan Rielly. It's not my favorite pair, but it's what we have. So that's what that is. We got Simone Benoit, Jake McCabe, and the Joel Edmondson, Timothy Liljegren with TJ Brody, Mark Giordano, and Connor Timmins. I don't think they're going to want to have Connor Timmins in unless injuries are needed for that. I feel like he's the lowest on the charts with Mark Giordano. And then TJ Brody, man, yeah, he's really, fallen down in the Leafs defense organization. He's just not having a very successful season, and he's just not been pairing well with Morgan Rielly, which is a shame. So I don't know if TJ, I feel like he'll probably be in the starting lineup, but who you taking out? Like, he's just not played well with Morgan Rielly. Ilya Lyubushkin's just been a better fit. Simone Benoit, he's going to be really good, I feel like, in the playoffs, going to be hitting everything. Is he the best defenseman? No, but he will be trying. And Jake McCabe, he's kind of one of the best we have on the right side. And then Timothy Liljegren, he's the mystery. He can be game-breaking, rather in a bad way, or not always a good way. I mean, he won't take over a game by himself, but he'll play good, and he's been playing more good, so hopefully we get good Timothy Liljegren in the playoffs for once. We need that, and we need it every game, Timothy. Don't fucking fuck up. And then Joel Edmondson, he hasn't been, like, game-changing for the Leafs down the stretch since they got him, but we're expecting him to flourish more in the playoffs. That's where his game, excuse me, my phone, I've smacked it, but that's where Joel Edmondson's game will come into. He will be very nasty in front of the net and in the corners and stuff like that, and that's what the Leafs are going to need against the Bruins. And then goaltending. So it seems it's Ilya Samsonov's net. I don't think Joseph Woll has necessarily taken it over. He has not played well down the stretch since his return from injury, and Samsonov's had some rough games down the stretch, but he's been one of the best goaltenders in the back half of the season. So I think it's safe to say it's Samsonov going to be the game one starter, but I don't think the leash is going to be very long on him. He gets lit up in the game one. They might give him game two, but if they lose game two, they're probably going to go to Woll, and we'll see what he can bring in the playoffs. And yeah, that's just going to be how it is. Martin Jones, I don't think they're going to have him coming in or anything like that. So that's currently the lineup right there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll go now and take a look at the Boston Bruins lineup, which, yes, is not featuring they're probably the ultimate Leaf killer, at least in my books, with Patrice Bergeron. That guy is just ultimatum when it comes to Toronto Maple Leafs defeats, but forward line one, Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk, he always seems to make himself heard and known about in Leafs Bruins series, so I know he hasn't had the greatest season. 19 goals, 40 points. Marchand, not the best season for him in terms of points. 67 points. He played a full 82. Charlie Coyle, 25 and 35, 60 points. That's a really good season for him. Filling in the shoes of Patrice Bergeron is impossible, but I feel like Charlie Coyle / Pavel Zacha did a decent, good job, man. Like, you got to commend them for the job that they did. It wasn't, no one's going to refill those guys, but I feel like considering the season that the Bruins had, fucking good job. Second line, they have Heinen, Pavel Zacha, and David Pastrnak. Now, Pastrnak is the big goal-scoring threat, 47 goals, 110 points. So that's going to be the straw that stirs the drink offensively for the Bruins. Let's just take a look at their scratches, make sure there's no huge names that we're missing. Well, Matthew Poitras, I think he was just sent down, so the rest of the lineup, you're looking at JVR, Morgan Geekie, and Trent Frederick for the third line. Not a bad third line. Morgan Geekie, pretty solid season. Down the stretch, he was getting better. 17 goals. Trent Frederick had 18. And then JVR, 11 goals. So I'm mostly going to focus in on goals because you're looking at depth down the lineup. So Bruins are doing okay. There's not a huge amount of goal-scoring threats, but they have guys that can potentially score. We know JVR is a power play threat in front of the net, so we're going to have to be careful of him over there, get him the hell out of the front. And then their fourth line, Jacob Lauko, Jesper Bobquist, and Patrick Maroon, who should be ready to go for playoffs. He was dealing with injury, but yeah, you can't take out the Patty Maroon factor right here. He has won 3 Stanley Cups, so he might know a thing or two about how to get into a team's kitchen and annoy the fuck out of you. So Patrick Maroon, guaranteed he's going to be up to shenaniganery in this series. Defensively, the Bruins are pretty freaking good here. Matt Grzelcyk, Charlie Coyle, top line. Defensive pair, really solid. We know Charlie McAvoy is an absolute stud with snarl. He can play very mean. He's a fantastic defenseman. Pair 2, Hampus Lindholm and Andrew Peeke. They added Peeke. He is supposed to be really mean, hard-hitting, and yeah, he's pretty big, 6'3", doesn't have a lot of poundage behind him, but yeah, we got to watch out for that. And Hampus Lindholm, though he didn't have the season that he had last year with the Bruins, he's a really good defenseman, all around just a good defenseman. And their third pair, Witherspoon and Shattenkirk. So Shattenkirk, a little bit of offense, not like he used to, and then Witherspoon, I would imagine just a defensive defenseman. I don't know a whole lot about them, but we know the goaltending is where the Bruins are cooking right here. They also have Brandon Carlo, who is scratched. I would imagine he is going to get into the lineup. He's one of their better defensemen, so I would be expecting him to be in that lineup as well. Could be taking the Andrew Peeke spot. He could get moved down. Regardless, they have Brandon Carlo there as well in the lineup. And then the goaltenders, probably going to be Jeremy Swayman starting off the playoffs. Both goaltenders are spectacular, damn near identical seasons. So there's a double threat in net. If the Leafs chase one goalie, there's another really good one waiting for them. So both goaltenders, .916 save percentage for Swayman, .915 for Ullmark. So yeah, very similar goaltenders. So that's a huge advantage for the Bruins right there. I mean, in terms of offense, you have to give it to the Leafs. They have a lot more bigger goal-scoring threats. Defensively, I'm just going to give it to the Bruins. They just play a better defensive game than the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's just kind of how that goes. They're bigger, they're heavier, and yeah, they have Charlie McAvoy, who I think outweighs any of the Leafs defensemen. He's a better defenseman than Morgan Rielly, but the Leafs definitely have the superstar power up front. Now, the question will be, is the goaltending of the Bruins going to be able to shut down the Toronto Maple Leafs? Oh boy, that's always the question, right? The Leafs get shut down pretty good at times, and that's going to be, I feel like the difference maker is going to be goaltending in the series. If the Leafs can get the good goaltending from Samsonov, there's a lot of benefactors for the Leafs that have to go right. They have to get the goal scoring. They're going to have to get some depth scoring as well. Like they can't continue to rely on the big four to get it all. That's why it's encouraging that Robertson is scoring down the stretch. We've seen Bobby McMann. He can put the puck in the net, so that's good. My fear with the Leafs is defense and goaltending, and that's where the Bruins definitely have the Leafs beaten. And it's always defense over offense when it comes to playoffs. So yes, the Leafs have a damn near huge advantage when it comes to offensive firepower. They have Pasternak, but in answer, I mean, they have Pasternak and Marchand. We'll call Marchand still a superstar on the back end of his career, though. He's still Marchand, so don't count him out. Playoff Marchand's terrifying. But we got Matthews, 69 goal scorer. William Nylander, damn near 100 points. You got Tavares, who would probably be a comparable with Marchand in terms of his age and the point production. And on top of that, you got Marner as well. So, and Max Domi, Bertuzzi. So, offensively, it's the Leafs. Defensively, goaltending-wise, it's the Bruins. And then special teams-wise, I would have to give it to the Bruins as well. The penalty kill for the Leafs has been rough and not very good, man. Not very good. That's going to be a thing. It's going to have to come alive. Now, just because it's coming in dead doesn't mean that they can't come up with a good way to work against the Bruins. So if they can come up with a good plan, same thing goes with the power play. It can make or break a series. The Leafs have, like I said, lots of firepower, so they're going to have to make it count when they get those opportunities. And that's another X factor in the series is the referees. How they're feeling tonight, who knows? So you got to put the referees in there as well. This is going to be a 7-game series, I feel like. I feel a lot of the series are going 7 games, but this one in particular, because that's just the way these series goes with the Leafs and Bruins. I think they're a tight matchup. They know each other. Bruins are going to have an advantage, I feel like, at home. It's very difficult to beat the Bruins on the road, but I feel like the Leafs do it more than other teams. I feel like that's just how I feel, but I feel like more often than not, the Leafs get stomped in the playoffs in their hometown, in their home barn. So I don't think hometown advantage, road advantage really is that big of a benefactor, a deal in this one, but scoring first is always a big deal in the playoffs. The Leafs tend to play better behind, but not a good strategy. Never a good strategy in the playoffs. You want to get the first goal. But yeah, that's just the way that the Leafs play. It doesn't encourage me playoff-wise. I don't want to pick the Bruins, but I don't know if the Leafs got them, man. I'm going to pick the Leafs. They'll take them in 7. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I can't really pick against the Leafs. So I'm going to go with the Leafs in 7 against Boston. It's going to be probably an infuriating series for me to watch, but hopefully I can keep my cool. I've gone through just about as much trauma with the Bruins alone, not even speaking about other playoff series that you can go through in the playoffs. So hopefully I'm mentally prepared for this. It's going to be a lot, and good luck out there, gentlemen. Let's keep the licking to a minimum, and let's just have ourselves a good competitive series. And, oh boy, it's going to be a rough one, man. Hopefully the Leafs can take them over quickly with the offense and get those engines running. They got to get the offensive engines running before the Bruins figure out how to shut them down and then get in their heads, and it's over. So, there it is. I'm scared. That's all I can say about that. Okay, we go to the next Atlantic matchup, which is a fun one. It's the Battle of Florida, Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. We'll start with the Panthers forward lineup. Lineup 1, we got Vladimir Tarasenko, who they added, Barkov, and Sam Reinhart. So Reinhart is the huge goal-scoring threat there with 57 goals this season, 94 points. Barkov, just all-around threat. We know he brings an incredible, one of the best two-way games in the NHL, so he's an all-around threat. He can score, he can play amazing defensively, and then on top of that, they have Vladimir Tarasenko, who's a solid goal-scoring threat, more so now that he's on the Panthers. 23 goals from he and Barkov, so that line can score and defend. Lineup 2 is Kata Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, and Matthew Tkachuk. What a nightmare of a line right there that is. We know Matthew Tkachuk, especially if he's nice and healthy, he thrives in the playoffs. He is going to be a handful. And Sam Bennett, he also thrives in the playoff scene. And Carter Verhaeghe, he is a huge goal-scoring threat. He likes to score big goals at big times. So lineup 2 looks like an absolute nightmare to deal with as well. And the third line, really good third line as well. You got Luostarinen, Lundell, and Rodriguez. Just a pretty versatile lineup right there with line 3. They don't have the deepest goal scoring, like no 20 goal scorers on that lineup, but 12, 13, and 12 goals. So there's goal scoring threats on that line, but they're also defensively responsible with Lundell and Luostarinen. And Rodriguez, he's all over the map. He can move up and down the lineup, and he can get very, very hot at times, so we'll keep an eye out on Evan Rodriguez. The fourth line right now, they have Gagovich, Stenlund, and Nick Cousins. We know Nick Cousins, not a very popular guy, but a very popular guy on their lineup because he's an absolute asshole. So he's going to bring that element big time in the playoffs. It's going to be a problem to deal with. In terms of scratches and guys not in the lineup right now, forward-wise, they have Kyle Okposo, who I would imagine is going to get into the lineup. They also have Ryan Lomberg, who's been a problem in previous playoff matchups, so you would imagine he's going to get in there as well. Probably Gagovich gets moved down, but yeah, they have some depth to use as well with their forwards. Now, defensively, they have some issues here. So they almost always have defensive injuries they're dealing with. Currently, Aaron Ekblad, he's got an undisclosed injury, no timeline on his return, so yeah, that's huge. That's one of their best defensemen that they have, and if he's not going to be in the lineup, that's huge. They have dealt with that for a majority of the season. He only got into 51 games this year, so nothing new in terms of Aaron Ekblad being injured. They also have Ekman Larson is also listed as day-to-day, so he could be back in the lineup for playoff time. But lineup 1, they have Gustav Forsling and Brandon Montour, a excellent pairing. Forsling, an unreal defensive defenseman, and Brandon Montour, a really good offensive threat. He's just an all-around good defenseman. Missed some games this year, didn't have the amazing season that he did last year, but 66 games, 33 points, 8 goals, not bad at all, not bad. And their defense is pretty deep. Pair 2, Niko Mikkola and Dmitry Kulikov. Good, solid defensive pairing right there. And then their third pairing, they have Balinskis and Josh Mahura. So, yeah, that's where you're going to hope that Aaron Ekblad and or Ekman Larsson get back into the lineup. That would just beef up their defense huge, but it's not that Mahura and Balinski are unusable. It's just that if you can get Ekblad and Ekman Larsson in there, that is a horrifying defensive core to deal with. And in terms of goaltenders, they're probably going to be going in with Sergei Bobrovsky. He's kind of the playoff goaltender. Played well this year with a .915 save percentage in 58 games. And Anthony Stolarz is backing him up. He is a threat, I would say, as well. He can play very well, a .925 save percentage in 27 games. So I don't think you're going to... if you chase Bob, you got Stolarz to deal with. So I think they're doing well in net, and we know Bobrovsky, he can go sicko mode when it comes to playoffs. So Bobrovsky is an X factor for their team. You would have to think that Sam Reinhart, Barkov are, Verhaeghe, Kachuk. There's a lot of big hitting, important names for the Florida Panthers coming into the playoffs. That's a strong looking team right there. So it's a threatening team, and they really showed how freaking good they can be under Paul Maurice's system. They really figured it out in the playoffs last year. So now we go to their opponents yet again. It is Tampa Bay. Not the most ideal season for them. A lot of injuries, some underperformances, but they did have the amazing season of Nikita Kucherov, who is on line one, of course, with Braden Point and Anthony Duclair right now. A very solid pickup for them since the trade deadline. I don't know if he's going to start there on playoff day, because that is not the most defensively reliable line. We kind of know that's a little bit of the storyline with Tampa Bay coming in, is that they're getting all these points offensively, but they got these guys with a lot of negatives. There's a lot of pretty staggering negatives in terms of the plus minus on Tampa Bay, so they haven't been very good defensively. They're not as deep as they once were, and Vasilevsky has not been playing as good as he normally is. So line one is good. I mean, Braden Point is a killer, Kucherov is a killer, and Anthony Duclair, you better watch out for him. He's incredibly fast, he's offensively minded, so that's an offensively minded line for sure. Then you got second line, Brandon Hagel, Cirelli, and Stamkos. You would think defense would be on their minds with Cirelli and Hagel. They're pretty great two-way forwards. And then Stamkos is Stamkos. He likes to score. He had 40 goals. On that first line, he had 23 goals, 45 goals, and 43 goals. So that line can score. This team can score, at least in the top six. We'll get to the bottom six, but Cirelli had 20, Stamkos had 40, and Hagel had a 25, and a 73-point season for him as well. Stamkos is still point a game. That's another offensively very threatening line. And then the third line has some offense. You got Nick Paul there. He scored 23 goals this season, and we know he emerges in the playoffs. He's just seems to destroy the Leafs anyway every time he's in the playoffs, so watch out for him. They got Anisimon and Shaffy. I don't know who Shaffy is. I can't say I've ever heard of him. He'll probably emerge as a 100-point guy at some point because it's Tampa Bay. In terms of forwards that are currently scratched, they have Austin Watson and Tyler Mott. I don't know if they're necessarily better than these guys that are in their bottom six. You could see some interchanges there, but for sure Nick Paul is there. He's staying. And then you got Tanner Jeannot, a Tampa Bay favorite, and Luke Clendening and Connor Sherry. I don't hate that fourth line with, I know Tanner Jeannot's been disappointing. 54 games this year, only 13 points, and all the assets they gave up, all that shit, but he could thrive in the playoffs, man. That's kind of his game. Clendening is a really good defensive center. Connor Sherry, pretty decent defensive forward as well. Pretty okay looking forward group there. Now, there's not the most defensive responsibility I see a lot of defensive-minded guys, but the team just has not been performing defensively. This team could score, though, absolutely, so that's a threat big time. Defensively, Victor Hedman, who is back to being Victor Hedman, outstanding season for him, 78 games, 76 points, so Hedman is incredible. He is going to be playing probably 30 minutes a game because he is by far their best defenseman on the team, and they're going to rely on him. If he goes down, Tampa goes down. That's pretty much how that goes, so he's huge for Tampa Bay. He's paired with Darren Radish, oh boy, and got Nick's... second lineup is Perbix and Cernak. Cernak's good solid defensive defenseman, performs well in playoff situations, so fairly reliable. And then their third pairing is Matt Dumba and Lilleberg. I don't know who the fuck that is. They have some defensive guys that are scratched as well, and Calvin DeHaan and Hayden Fleury. DeHaan could be a better option. He's a pretty good defensive defenseman, but yeah, their defense... couple guys there I don't really know much about, haven't even heard some of these names before. So yeah, Tampa not as deep as they used to be, but they still have their usual playoff threats. Now with Anthony Duclair, who I think is a pretty big threat himself. Defensively, obviously, they do not have Mikhail Sergachev this run, which is a huge loss for them. He wasn't having the best season, but he's a playoff guy, man. He's nasty, underratedly fucking dirty, and yeah, he's going to be big time missed on the blue line. And then goalies. It's going to be Vasilevsky, 100%, but he's got a 900 save percentage this year in 52 games. Not the most Vasilevsky numbers, but it's Vasilevsky. Could he just flip the switch like he usually does and just play unbelievable in the playoffs? I feel like last year, and maybe even the year before that, he hasn't been like game-breaking, stealing Vasilevsky that he has been, but it's still Vasilevsky, so I will not take him lightly. I think he would give Tampa Bay the slight edge, but not that much, honestly, because Bob has proven himself in the playoffs. He's a two-time Vezina winner, so you can't count out Bob Broski either. So is it that big of an advantage? I don't think so. I think Florida's got Tampa Bay covered defensively, even with injuries, and then forward-wise, that's where it's pretty close. I would give maybe a slight edge to Tampa Bay as long as their power play is clicking, because they have the Nikita Kucherov benefactor. The dude could be the Art Ross winner this year, and he's generally never getting shut down, so he's a hard guy to stop. If they can do it, it would be amazing. And yeah, so maybe the slight edge offensively for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I'm going to go with Florida in this series. It's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of these matchups look like they're going to be a lot of fun, but I would go with Florida Panthers in 6 games. No disrespect or anything to Tampa Bay. I think Florida is on a mission. They are ready. They've dealt with Tampa before. They're familiar with each other, and I just think the Panthers have a better team, but it's going to be a very, very fun, hard-hitting series, and yeah, I'm there for that. It's going to be a good one. All right, the next one, now we're going to the Metropolitan. We got the President Trophy winning New York Rangers, and we know that they've had themselves a nice season, obviously, if they won the President's Trophy. Let's take a look at this lineup here. One of the more deep teams, I would say, out there. Their top line right now is looking like Panarin, Trocheck, and Alexei Lafreniere is on the first line right now, and that is a gnarly first line. 120 points out of Panarin, 49 goals, 25 goals, and 28 goals from Lafreniere. So I know it's not the first overall point production you want just yet, but 28 goals, 29 assists, 57 points in 82 games for Alexei Lafreniere, who is still only 22 years old, by the way. So just, he's a threat out there. Now, is he going to stay on that top line? I don't know. He could. It's a pretty good forward line, but Alexei Lafreniere, that's a deadly first line, and watch out for Trocheck, man. This guy, he's mean, he's gnarly. I think he's going to be even better in the playoffs, and he's had himself, might be his best offensive year that he's had in his career. He's been excellent. I love that pickup for the Rangers when they got him. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, that is a excellent ad, and they're going to love him. He's going to be great. Second line, Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, and Jack Roslovic lined up in there right now. Let's take a look. Not to be rude, but let's take a look at the scratches. Okay, no big name there. Okay, so Jack Roslovic, I think they got him this trade deadline. I haven't heard much about him being like a huge, crazy game changer for them, but a good, solid addition. He can play down the middle, I do believe, if anything happens there. But your big hitters are Kreider and Zibanejad. 39 goals for Kreider and 26 goals for Zibanejad. He's actually been a little bit quiet on the back half of the season, not a little bit under a point a game, but hopefully Zibanejad comes alive in the playoffs. Kreider's generally a really good playoff guy, so that's a pretty deadly second line as well. Third line, we're looking at Will Cooley, Alexander Wenberg, and Kaapo Kakko in the trade deadline as well. You got 13, 10, and 13 goals there, respectively, for the three players. Kaapo Kakko's had a really struggle of a year. 61 games, missed a lot with injury. 13 goals, 6 assists, only 19 points. So he's not going to bring a lot offensively, you don't think. Defensively, he's okay. Alex Wenberg, a decent, solid third-line two-way center. I don't know. That third line doesn't blow me away. I can't say I know a whole lot about this Will Cooley. 81 games, 13 goals, 8 assists, 21 points. But he's 22, so kind of a young lineup. Third line there. I don't know. Doesn't really blow me away. But I don't know. Could be wrong. And then the fourth line, Jimmy Vesey, Barclay, Goudreau, and Matt Rempe. That is that's a dangerous fucking fourth line right there. Jimmy Vesey, he scored 13 goals this year. He can put some goals in, but he's also, I'm not going to say he's like a mean guy or anything, but, I think he learned something from Toronto. Now he's back in New York. He's found a spot here, so he's a good, viable guy. And then Barclay Goudreau and Matt Rempe, there's your meat. That's the meat right there for this team. So Barclay Goudreau, a veteran cup winner with Tampa. He doesn't bring a lot of points, but he's going to bring that playoff element. He's going to hit you. He'll fight you, get in your face. And then Matt Rempe is like a real mystery. What is this guy going to bring in the playoffs for the Rangers? Is it going to benefit them, or is it going to take them down? Is he going to do something stupid that gives them a big 5-minute penalty they got to kill off? Like, who knows? Or maybe Matt Rempe just gets in the kitchen of Ovechkin and just who knows? Matt Rempe definitely going to have a lot of eyes on him and see what this kid can do in the playoffs. He's 21 years old. He's 6'8". Yeah. So I think just that alone, being 6'8", is kind of an X factor coming in. But yeah, that's a fun freaking lineup right there, forward-wise. And defensively, one of the more strong teams here defensively. You got Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox pair one. Ryan Lindgren, extremely underrated defensive defenseman. He's fantastic. Adam Fox, I know people are maybe a little upset he's not getting a lot of Norris love, but I feel like he's a perennial Norris contender. It's just people don't have to talk about it. He's just kind of always there. But another excellent season. 17 goals and 73 points for Adam Fox. So we know what this guy brings. He brings fantastic offense, but he's no slouch on defense. Second pair, Keandre Miller and Braden Schneider. I'll never forget Braden Schneider because I wanted the Leafs to draft him. And he looks like he's been a fucking excellent freaking pick for the Rangers. He's been in their lineup, I think, since they drafted him. Right-handed shot defenseman. He doesn't bring a lot points-wise, but Keandre Miller and Braden Schneider, that's a pretty nice-looking shutdown pair, but Keandre, he can bring a little bit of offense. He's a very good defenseman, and they're young. That's a young top four core right there. The oldest being 26 years old, and then you round it out with Eric Gustafsson and Jacob frickin' Trouba. So yeah, Trouba, obviously, he's going to be a huge element for the Rangers. He's going to terrify guys with his big hits, and he's going to flourish in the playoffs. It's what he does. And yeah, Gustafsson, he can put some points in the basket, I guess I'll say. But yeah, that's a nice looking defensive core right there. Injured reserve, they have Blake Wheeler and Philip Hedl. So we know Hedl is, I don't think he's coming back, sadly, which sucks. And then with Wheeler, it's month to month. So I don't think he's going to be starting the playoffs. If they go far, he might pop in, but they have a little bit of depth there. And then actual scratches on defense. They have Zachary Jones and Chad Ruedel. So they have a little bit of depth there in the reserves, but that's a deep team top to bottom. And we haven't even talked about the goalies yet. Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan freaking Quick, man. That's what a duo. So Quick had the hot start. He kind of helped Igor through his slow start, and Igor's been fantastic down the stretch. So he seems to be ready to go. He'll more than likely be in net for game one, but it doesn't hurt to have, two-time Stanley Cup winner Jonathan Quick back there, who has resurged his freaking career. So, yeah. New York, top to bottom, looking pretty good. So let's take a look at their opponent, the Washington Capitals, who battled their way into the playoffs only to pull the Rangers. And the big thing with the Capitals is that they're a team coming in with a rather large goal differential on the negative side for their team. It's like minus 30 something. So they have allowed 30 more goals than they've scored, which is not the normal for playoff bound teams. But the way that the Capitals kind of played is that when they win, it's generally a close win. And when they lose, they tend to get blown out. So let's take a look at this lineup. Forward-wise, first line, it's the grade 8, Alexander Ovechkin. They got McMichael and TJ Oshie up there right now. So obviously they went through a bit of a change this year. No more Kuznetsov. He's gone. And Backstrom, he's pretty much done now for his career. So they don't have the big center there with Ovechkin anymore. And I can't say I know a whole lot about Connor McMichael. I know he's young and he's not a bad season. 80 games, 18 goals, 15 assists, 33 points. Not the amount of points you want out of a first-line center, but I don't think he's been playing there the whole year. But we know TJ Oshie, he's a big game player, shows up in playoffs, shows up in big situations. If he's healthy, he should be a big deal. If they're going to win some games, TJ Oshie is probably going to have a big point in that happening. Same with Ovechkin. But, Ovi's Ovi. He still hasn't really changed a lot about his game. He still plays in his office. And, yeah, it still really hasn't changed. He broke 30 goals this year, which is kind of amazing. 65 points. And I'm going to be very interested to see what Ovechkin we get. Do we get like that old classic playoff Ovi where he's hitting everything and just going crazy, especially when he didn't have the cup yet and he was just playing some really desperate, crazy hockey? I don't know what we're going to get out of Ovechkin in the playoffs. I'm very excited to see that. Line 2, you got Poitras, Dylan Strome, and Tom Wilson. So the big matchup is Tom Wilson versus Matt Rempe. That could be the fight of the year, fight of the century. If that goes down, that could be fun. But not a bad second line. Tom Wilson, we know his game. He can get in your kitchen. He can score, but not so much this year. He's kind of hurt. And then Dylan Strome's kind of been the other goal scorer of this team. They only have 2 guys on this team that scored more than 20 goals, which is Ovi and Dylan Strome. Everybody else under 20 goals. So they don't score. This team does not score. They rely on defensive hockey, shutting it down, solid goaltending. Third line is Max Pacioretty, Hendrix Lapierre, and Sonny Milano. So Pacioretty, he only got into 47 games. He only scored 4 goals, which is, Pacioretty's kind of a goal scorer, so he's not really doing that, but 23 points is not bad. We'll see what he can bring. He can bring it in the playoffs. In terms of Lapierre and Sonny Milano, again, they're not huge offensive threats, so not the best looking third line. And then their fourth line, Malenstein, Nick Dowd, and Abe Kubel. An okay fourth line, like Nick Dowd's a nice fourth line center there, but yeah, not a lot of offense there. 12 goals out of Nick Dowd is okay. And then their defense, you're looking at Faravari and John Carlson. John Carlson still has the offense, 10 goals, 42 assists, 52 points. Faravari, don't really know a whole lot about him. He's only 24, probably defensively responsible, you would think, if he's paired with Carlson. You got Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Iorio. I don't know who that is. He's 21, Iorio. Only got into 6 games. That would probably be why. All right, who's injured here on their defense? They got Rasmus Sandin and Nick Jensen. So yeah, those are two of their better defensemen. Unknown expectation for return for Sandin. That sucks. And same goes with Nick Jensen. That sucks. So yeah, no Sandin. That's one of their better defensemen. Same with, yeah, that sucks. That hurts their defense, which wasn't very deep in the first place. Third pair, Alexiev and McIlwraith. So yeah, not a really eye-popping defense. And then their goaltending. We got Charlie Cyburns, Charlie Lindgren. He's really helped the team, really helped them get to the playoffs, honestly. 9-11 save percentage, 50 games, 25-16. Probably going to be the day one starter, but he has kind of seemed like he's run out of gas. So I don't know if he's going to be stealing a whole bunch of games, but probably going to give you a better game than Darcy Kemper, who's got a .890 save percentage this year through 33 games. So that sucks. You know, they brought in Kemper to be the goaltender for a long time, and it just really hasn't worked out all that well. Thankfully, Charlie Lindgren's been really good, so I would expect him to be the day one starter, but also wouldn't be shocked if it's Kemper just because they pay him to be the starter. But we'll see, man. I really don't have a lot of expectations for Washington. Really, the only way they're going to get through the Rangers if they somehow manage to shut that whole entire team down somehow, because they got line that team can roll lines, and they got a great defense and two great goaltenders. Ovechkin's gonna have to get very hot, and you know, there's, like I said, there's only like two real goal scoring threats. You can shut down two guys, especially with the team that you have like New York. So I'm gonna give it to New York. They're gonna win this, I would say, let's give them 5. No disrespect to Washington, it's just that it's just doesn't look like a really good matchup, but who knows, man? Like, if the Rangers go cold and Charlie Lindgren gets hot and Ovi can get hot, who knows? You could have the biggest upset of the year, but I'm going to stick with the safe bet and go with the Rangers in 5. And the final matchup in the East is Carolina versus the New York Islanders, which I'll just say flat out is the one that I'm the least excited for, just because they're two teams that don't play a style of hockey that I'm that interested in. I feel like it's going to be the slowest of the series, but again, I could be wrong. It could be very exciting, and it can be a lot of people's bread and butter, which is fine. It's just not the one that I'm the most excited to watch. Like, maybe I won't even watch any of it. It all depends what comes out of it, but let's take a look at the lines and all that stuff. So we'll start with Carolina, who had the biggest acquisition at the trade deadline, bringing in Gensel, who's been the biggest addition, and he's been fantastic for them. He's all the way down since they got him. He's been outstanding. So hopefully he can bring that into the playoffs. Their top line, Gensel, Aho, and Jarvis. All three guys got 30 goals, 33 goals for Jarvis. Very good season for him, 67 points, 89 for Aho, 77 for Gensel, who missed quite a few games, only 67 games played from Gensel, but yeah, 3 30-goal scorers, so that is a line that can score. It's just that Carolina's tendency is to run out of offensive firepower when it comes to later periods in the playoffs. Like, once they get to the third round, they tend to just run out of firepower. They added in some pretty good firepower with Gensel and Kuznetsov, so we'll see if it's enough. So their second line is Teravainen, Kuznetsov, and Necas. So you got 25 goals, 8 goals, and 24 goals. So take Kuznetsov's season with a grain of salt. It started out with very rough with the Capitals. He was in the player assistance program, came out, got sent down to the minors, then traded to Carolina. He's been pretty freaking good for Carolina since he got there. So that could be an X factor. He was a big X factor in the Capitals Stanley Cup victory. If he wasn't doing what he did that year, they weren't going to win that cup. So if he can find that game again, oh, buddy, watch out. That's a gnarly second line. I mean, Necas is fast as shit. Can he score consistently? Not really. He kind of had a down year this season from last year, down about 20 points, but 24 goals. The second line can score, but again, it's not like they don't have any 40, 50 goal guys on this team or anything like that. So they can get shut down and offense can dry up with this team because that's just, they don't have like the big 50 goal scorers. So anyway, third line, Martinook, Jordan Staal, and Andrei Svechnikov. So I could see Svechnikov moving up, but that's a disgusting third line right there. Svechnikov, goal scorer, only got into 59 games, 19 goals. So through a full season, you're probably looking at about a 30-goal season, has been generally the usual for Svechnikov. I feel like this guy should be scoring more than that. He is so offensively gifted, but I think the Carolina system kind of suppresses that a little bit. If he was somewhere else allowed to dance, you'd probably be getting more out of Svechnikov, but he's still a really good player. Jordan Staal, defensive stalwart, but can still get some points. Only 10 goals this year, but defensively, fantastic. And then Jordan Martinook, he was ridiculous for Carolina last year, I remember. So watch out for that guy. Fourth line, Nason, Drury, and Fast. So pretty decent two-way forward lineup there in the fourth line. A mix of, Nason can put some goals in the net. He had 14 this year. Not bad to have that on your fourth line. So, yeah, pretty deep. Again, not filled with superstars, but just like good, great players all throughout. So a team that can roll the lines. And then defensively, well, back to forwards, they also have Kotkaniemi, who's scratched. Brendan Lemieux, those guys I could see getting into some games. Kotkaniemi had a really hot start, cooled the fuck off. Only got 27 points this year in 79 games, but yeah, defensively, though, this team is thriving. Very good defense. Jacob Slavin, Brett Burns, pair one. Brett Burns is 39 years old now, but he's still rocking it. 10 goals, 43 points. Nothing wrong with that. Jacob Slavin, one of the best defensive defensemen in the game. One of the better defensemen in the games that nobody talks about. If someone wants to be pissed off about never getting Norris consideration, Jacob Slavin. Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, pair two. Very strong second pair right there. Brady Shea, very underrated. Brett Pesce, really good defensive defenseman. Terms of points, Brady Shea had 47 points. He actually had the most points as a defenseman on the Carolina Hurricanes. So Brady Shea, don't sleep on him. Dmitry Orlov and Jalen Chatfield round out the third pair. They also have D'Angelo, who's sitting there, and Scott Morrow. But Dmitry Orlov, I know he didn't break the point system. He is making $7 million and only got 26 points. You'd want maybe a little bit more than that, but he's a good defenseman. We'll say that. And then goaltenders. It's going to be Frederik Andersen by the looks of it, who has been very, very good down the stretch since he came back. Only 16 games, but 13-2 win-loss record, a .932 and an 1.84 goals against. So we got, for possibly the first time ever, a fresh and rested Frederik Andersen going into the playoffs, and that just might be the thing that can get the Carolina Hurricanes over the hump. We'll have to wait and see, but that's a deadly-looking team right there, man. That is a deadly-looking team, top to bottom. I think they got a, deep team. Looks good. Let's go over now to the Islanders. If we can go back there, please. Thank you. Islanders, what do we got here? So we know their big story is the bringing in of Patrick Waugh, and it seemed to have worked. Got him into the playoffs, and let's see this lineup. Lineup one right now, you got, hold on. Let me take, okay, so right now they have Barzal and them scratched. That's just for the final game. So I would imagine, Brock Nelson center. Where does Barzal not play center? Oh, I don't think he is playing center right now because Bo Horvat's there. So I would imagine their first line would be Matthew Barzal, Bo Horvat, and Oliver Wahlstrom. I doubt it. There's no way Wahlstrom's up there. Maybe Zizekas is up there in the first round. I don't know. These lineups look all messed up, but okay then. So we know what Bo Horvat's going to bring. He actually had a really nice season. I think Islanders fans should be more okay with the signing and the trade and everything. He 33 goals, 35 assists, 68 points in 80 games. Nothing wrong with that out of Bo Horvat. Very good two-way center, good face-offs and all that. So he's going to be really important for the Islanders. Casey Cizikas and Wahlstrom. I mean, Wahlstrom only got in 31 games. He only got 6 points. So I don't know if he's even going to be in the lineup. So I'm not going to say much about him other than that I'm a fan of him, and I would really like him to break out. Second line, Simone Holmstrom, Brock Nelson, and Kyle Palmieri. Palmieri had a pretty damn good season, 29 goals for him, 53 points, 33 goals from Brock Nelson, just a very good, solid, consistent player right there that gets like zero love across the board. 14 goals out of Holmstrom, so a decent second line. Holmstrom's only 22, so there could be some movement there. Like I said, they have guys that are just scratched right now, and like Pierre Engvall is an everyday player in their lineup anyway, and so is Barzal for sure. That's probably their best offensive player. He's got 80 points. Third line looks like Anders Lee, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Cal Clutterbuck. That looks a little bit more normal, but we all know that it's like Clutterbuck, Matt Martin, and Cizikas. That's like the all-the-time fourth line, so there's that. But Anders Lee, he's starting to slow down. He's still got 20 goals this season. So I don't know, man. Like, this lineup, not really blowing me away. That third line it's decent with Anders Lee on the third line. Like, he's a big player, plays hard in front of the net. We know Cal Clutterbuck, these guys hit. Matt Martin hits. Kyle McLean and Rusyan Ishkov, he hasn't played any games, so I don't think he's going to be in the lineup. So I'm not worried about those guys, but Pierre Engvall, I know everyone likes to make fun of his big, long contract. 74 games, 10 goals, 28 points, and then Matthew Barzal, 23 goals, 80 points in 80 games. So those guys are going to be in there. Defensively, Noah Dobson is currently listed as injured. He's listed as day-to-day, so you would expect him to be there for the playoffs. They're definitely going to need him. He's their best defenseman, 79 games, at least offensively. 10 goals, 60 assists, 70 points in 79 games. Hell of a season from Noah Dobson. Their other defenseman is Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock, two very good shutdown defensive defensemen. They each missed the same amount of games, and they both only got into 57, but they're fantastic shutdown defensemen. They just got to stay healthy. Romanov and Bolduc is their second pairing, and Mike Riley, Sebastian Aho, the other one, is their third pairing. And with, like I said, you got Robert Bortuzzo as well. I don't think he's like an everyday player, but that's some depth. Decent defense, man. Like, I think a lot of it is like right now, the Islanders are finding their stride under Patrick Waugh. They're getting the new coach boost. They're getting better goaltending now because they actually started to use Varlamov a little bit more, which helped them down the stretch get into the playoffs, because I think Ilya Sorokin just had a little bit too much on his plate and maybe overworked a little bit. Not the best season out of Sorokin. That's going to be a big question mark. Who the fuck is starting day one? I mean, Varlamov, he's had some playoff freaking moments. He's got 918 right now, 908 from Sorokin, but it's Sorokin. So, I don't know, flip a coin on that one. That's a tough call. Regardless, I'm going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes in this series. I think it will be a good, competitive, grindy series with good defense and goaltending, you would expect. But for some reason this year with the Islanders, like they blew a lot of leads, a lot of high-scoring games for the Islanders this year. I haven't noticed that very much under Patrick Waugh, but yeah, honestly, I'm not too excited for this one. I really like the Carolina Hurricanes. I just don't like watching them that much because they're a little bit on the slower side sometimes, but I want Carolina to win. They'll do it in 6, I think. And yeah, I'm sorry, Islanders fans, but really cool that they made it. I mean, they could pull off the upset. I think all these matchups right now, it's up in the air, honestly. Like the Leafs and Bruins, it can go either way. The only one that feels the most, in favor of one or the other is the Rangers Capitals. And, I could still see the Capitals winning it. I don't think it's a guarantee, slam dunk, the Rangers take it home. They could easily choke. So, again, I don't think any of them are landslide victories. I'm not big on choosing sweeps anymore, but that's the East. We'll see. Let's take a look at the West quickly. Now, the West isn't completely set right now, so I think I'm just going to do the two that are confirmed, and we can just quickly touch on the other ones that are not set yet. So the ones that are set is Winnipeg versus Colorado and Vancouver versus Nashville. So let's start with Vancouver, because this one is going to make... Vancouver fans, they're really hard to gauge. This team is a little bit hard to gauge as well. I don't know why. Let's just dive into it. So look at the big scratches. I don't see any huge names right there. So lineup 1, P.S. Suter, JT Miller, and Brock Besser. Brock Besser cracked 40 goals this year. JT Miller cracked 100 points, and then P.S. Suter had 29 points. So I don't know if P.S. Suter is always there, but obviously would bring that grittiness, probably a defensive element to the team that would help Miller and Besser have some more space. But yeah, Besser finally broke out for that 40-goal season that he was always been looking for. JT Miller, another fantastic season out of him, though I know a lot of people don't like him. But he's good, man. He had a really good, even his defensive game got a lot better. Is it elite? No, but it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. So that's good. You got a 100-point player, 230, damn near 40-goal scorers there. P.S. Suter had 14. So obviously the Canucks are able to score, and that first line is a scoring line for sure. Second line, Höglander, Pettersson, and Ilya Mikheyev. You got 24 goals, 34 goals, and 11 goals. Pettersson, the big threat there, 89 points. That's your superstar center, who is now getting paid as such, 25 years old. And it's going to be a lot of spotlight on Pettersson. He's got to take over the series. He's got to put up a lot of points and not get shut down to satisfy the very ravenous Vancouver Canucks fans. So yeah, going to be a lot of spotlight on Pettersson. Excited to see how his game goes in the playoffs. I think this is only the second time he's been here. Third line, you got Dakota Joshua, Elias Lindholm, and Connor Garland. So if that line is rolling, and Lindholm seems to have found his game, he's had some good ones, but Connor Garland's been ridiculous down the stretch, and Dakota Joshua has been a great find for Vancouver Canucks, so I really like that lineup right there. So 18 goals, 14 goals, and 19 goals, so almost 20 goal scorers down there. Again, another goal scoring threat there for a line. This line, yeah, it can roll and do some offensive threats for sure. And Elias Lindholm, good defensive center as well, just kind of been struggling to find his fit with Vancouver, but it's starting to look like he found it, so that's good. Fourth line, Podkolzin, Blueger, and Sam Lafferty. Not a bad fourth line right there. Lafferty, really good. Teddy Blueger, pretty nice addition there for the Canucks as well. Both those guys, I think Paul Colson's draft pick, but not amazing. I could see Paul Colson getting moved out. Maybe they put Di Giuseppe. I love that name. I just couldn't say it for a second. But yeah, that's a nice forward group. Defensively, you got Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronek. Great pairing right there. I mean, 91 points out of Quinn Hughes, 17 goals, 74 assists. Insane season for him. Probably going to win himself a Norris. And he's been fantastic for them. It's going to be spotlight on him, the new captain. He's proven himself this year in the regular season. Now it's time to do it in the playoffs as well. So, going to be looking for that offense out of Quinn Hughes for sure. And Hronek, 48 points, a lot of that came in the first half, kind of a slow second half, but started to pick it up a little bit. Still a really good defenseman. Second pair, Carson Soucy, Tyler Myers. Tyler Myers not the greatest pairing defenseman right there, but he's had a good season for the Canucks, for Tyler Myers standards at least. Carson Soucy's been a good, solid defensive defenseman for the Canucks this season. Only gotten to 39 games, but I think he's good and healthy, ready to go. And Zadorov, the big addition. He's been a good fit paired with Ian Cole, who's also been a nice addition for the blue line. They improved the blue line a lot this year for the Canucks, and the offense just kept rolling. So, yeah, man, they look good, man. I know Tyler Myers might be a little bit of an outlier, but 29 points this year and 76 games, not bad. And then Thatcher Demko, that's going to be your The big one right there, what Thatcher Demko are we getting? Are we getting the one that almost single-handedly took down the Vegas Golden Knights, or, the one that was struggling last year? Which one are we going to get? Thatcher Demko looks awesome, one of the best goalies in the league, .918 save percentage, 50 games, so didn't play too much. Got a little rest there at the end, has been playing pretty good. So Thatcher Demko, again, there's going to be spotlights all over this team. It's a spotlight team, and they're going to be looking for it out of their big guys. Demko, Hughes, JT Miller, Pedersen, Brock Besser. So yeah, I don't know if this team's going to be able to get through that pressure, or if the pressure is going to get to them. They're in a way kind of playing with house money this year, so I personally would feel not that much pressure if I was a Canuck. Everyone's signed right now. Team's looking pretty good. I don't know. So I don't know if the pressure's all that big on the Canucks, but obviously with the fan pressure, they're always going to have that fan pressure. So we'll see how it goes there for Vancouver. Let's go over now to their opponents, the Nashville Predators, who have been one of the deadliest teams down the stretch. We know of the U2 story. They weren't allowed to go. It got canceled because they were sucking, and ever since then, they've not been sucking. So let's take a look at this lineup here. Take a look at their scratches. Okay, there's some names there for sure. All right. First line, you got Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, and Gustav Nyquist. May not blow you away, but honestly, that line has been awesome. 48 goals out of Forsberg, 26 out of O'Reilly, and 23 out of Nyquist. So Nyquist has been excellent for them this year. 75 points. Get the fuck out of town. He has been awesome. So that's a deadly first line. We know Forsberg is a huge goal-scoring threat. And yeah, that's not a... And Ryan O'Reilly, former Conn Smythe winner, won the cup with the Blues. Yeah, man, he is going to be, he's going to know a thing or two on how to win a cup, so he's an X factor. Second line, Jason Zucker, Colton Sissons, and Mark Jankowski. I don't know if Jankowski is an everyday player on that line there, but he's listed there right now. They do have Cody Glass is scratched. He's got 41 games. Don't know if he's an everyday player necessarily, but he's there right now. So you got 14, 15, and 7 goals. You're not getting a lot of goal scoring out of the Predators. Obviously, their game is defensively minded a bit, but they have some threats. Third line, Anthony Bolivier, Thomas Novak, and Luke Evangelista. 5 goals, 18 goals, 16 goals. So, again, there's some threats there. 45 goals. Not a bad third line right there, honestly. Tommy Novak, one of the more not as known. He's a pretty damn good player right there. He's 26 now, but Luke Evangelista, also kind of an up-and-comer for Nashville. He's 22. And then the fourth line, you got Cole Smith, Michael McCarron, and Kiefer Sherwood. I don't think I know any of these guys, honestly, but not a bad fourth line. 9 goals, 12 goals, 10 goals, 20-plus points out of all those guys. Not bad, man. That's just kind of the team. Just a bunch of guys that, may not pop off on the name board, but they're doing their job. From their bottom 6, there's only one guy making $4 million. That's Bolivier. Everyone else is on league minimum. So they're getting good bang for their buck out of some of those forwards there. Defensively, good defense. We got Ryan McDonough and Roman Josi. That's a disgusting pair right there. Roman Josi, another outstanding defensive season. 23 freaking goals in 82 games. He's unbelievable. We know this. Ryan McDonough, an unbelievable defensive defenseman, but he also put up 32 points. So just a great all-around defenseman. Jeremy Lauzon, he will hit you a zillion times. He's going to be a problem in the playoffs with Alex Carrier. Yeah, man, that's a nice pairing too. I like that. You got third pair is Spencer Stasnicki and Luke Shen. So with their scratches right now, they have Dante Fabro, who's a good defenseman, and Tyson Barrie, who hasn't been the best fit this season for them, but he's also there. Maybe he gets into some games and can get some points for them. He's a offensive defenseman. Dante Fabro, he got into 56 games this season, so he seems like a defenseman that will be in their lineup. But the big guy is the guy in net, UC Saros. Not even the biggest UC Saros year, honestly, a 906 save percentage in 64 games. So he's been well used this season. He could be potentially tired. Did you know that he's only 5'11"? Regardless, it's UC Saros. He's an excellent elite goaltender in this league, and he has that potential to steal a game, maybe a series. I don't know. It is essentially a wash when it comes to goaltending because Thatcher Demko's shown that he can potentially steal series. He's one of the best goalies in the league this year, so I can't really give the advantage in goalie even to Nashville there. Defensively, I'm giving it to Nashville. They got a superstar there in Roman Josi. Is he as good? I think he and Quinn Hughes are essentially a wash. I mean, they're both spectacular defensemen. You got Ryan McDonough, just a stud as well. And they got good depth. I mean, Alexander Carrier, they don't talk a lot about him, but he's really, really good. I don't know, man. I would give the slight edge to defense for Nashville, all around, like defensively, forward-wise as well. But obviously, Vancouver is a much more potent goal-scoring threat of a team. This is one of the tougher ones to choose because Nashville's been such a threat down the stretch. I am not taking this team lightly whatsoever. They're perennial underdogs every time they're in a playoff series. It just seems they're always the underdogs. And Vancouver's got some spotlight. I feel maybe they do have more pressure, probably more pressure than Nashville, who didn't have a lot of expectations coming in. This one's going to be fun, man. I like both teams, but I'm just going to root for my Canadian squads. I got to go with Vancouver. I really like what they did this year. All the shit that they've gone through, and they're finally, hopefully, righting the ship finally. So I'll go with Vancouver. I'm going 7 in this one. I'm expecting this to go. I'm going to get my pen here and write it down. I'm expecting this one to be a lot of fun. I hope it is. I hope it's fun, hard-hitting, back and forth, competitive matchup. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good one, man. I'll go 7 Vancouver though. And we'll finish with Winnipeg versus Colorado. This one has definitely, I've heard some predictions for this series already, and there's more Winnipeg supporters than I was expecting. So, let's take a look at why. So their lineup right now, let's take a look at the scratches first. So yeah, okay, they got some interesting ones. Lineup 1, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Gabriel Velarde. That's a deadly first line right there. 34 goals out of Kyle Connor, 25 and 21. Yeah, not the healthiest line. You know, everyone on this line right here has missed some games. 65 out of Connor, 74 out of Scheifele, and only 46 out of Gabriel Velarde, but he got 21 goals, so that's a 30-plus goal season out of him. He's been spectacular for them. A great win for Winnipeg was the Dubois trade. I loved it since day one, and Velarde was a big part of that. If he can stay healthy, oh my goodness, he alone, I think, almost wins that trade. Good first line right there. Second line, pretty fucking good-looking line, too. Ehlers, Monahan, and Toffoli. So 2 guys that they added. Yeah, man, 25 goals, 26 goals, 33 goals. I really like that second line. You got goal scoring, you got defense, you got Toffoli. I feel like he's a playoff guy, too. So, and Ehlers, he had a bounce-back season. Maybe looking for a little bit more than 61 points out of him, but a good bounce-back season. Third line, Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, and Mason Appleton. Wow. That's a good third line, man. 18 goals, 12 goals, 14 goals. Like, shit, bro. That's another lineup that can score some goals. You got some defensively responsible guys there. That's not a small line either. I don't know why I can't say either. 6'2", 6'5", 6'2". Yeah, that's a line that's going to cause some problems for some teams, for sure, if they can make it deep. And then rounding out the fourth line, Gustafsson, Namastankanov, and Alex Iafallo. Really like Iafallo and Namastankanov down there. Gustafsson could be in there, but they also have Cole Perfetti, Rasmus Kupari, and Morgan. Morgan Barron's injured now, but Cole Perfetti, I've seen he's been getting scratched lately. He's 22, and he's been really inconsistent offensively. Goes on these great sprees and then goes ice cold for even longer. So he might have to earn his way back in. I don't know if they're going to start with him, but they might want to put him in there for some extra offense. But that is a really nice lineup top to bottom. And now for their defense, which is pretty good. You got Josh Morrissey, who had another great season for him. 81 games, 10 goals, 69 points. He's a stud back there. You got Dylan DeMello with him, who's been really good actually this season. Like 31 points out of DeMello. I don't know if I would have expected that, but he's been a really good fit in Winnipeg. Brendan Dillon, another really good defenseman. Not a lot of love for this guy, but 20 points. He hits, he bangs, he's crashing. He's doing that thing. I'm really looking forward to see this guy's game in the playoffs this season. And he's paired with Neil Pionk, who's a little bit of an adventure at times defensively, but he can bring some offense. 33 points. He's not the biggest. He may not be the best for playoff hockey, but I like Neil Pionk. Leave him alone. And then you finish it out with Logan Stanley and Dylan Sandberg. In terms of the scratches, they do have Nate Schmidt. He is currently scratched. I don't know if he's just not having a very good season right now, or they're just resting him, but he got 62 games, and it's Schmidt. He's a pretty damn good defensive defenseman, so I don't know if I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, man, that's a good defense as well. Is it amazing? No, but that's okay. Drop my freaking pen over here, but that's okay because they got freaking one of the best tandems back there. They got Connor Hellebuck, probably the best goaltender in the league this season. More than likely got a Vezina coming his way. 60 games, 921 save percentage, just unbelievable. And Laurent Brossoit, a 928 save percentage. So if you manage somehow to chase Hellebuck out of the net, but Swat's pretty freaking good himself. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to give the edge in net to the Winnipeg Jets, you would have to think, because goddamn, that's a nice pairing right there for sure. Connor Hellebuck, generally pretty good in the playoffs from what I can remember. I don't think he generally collapses all that much, but very deep team here for Winnipeg. Is there anyone necessarily that had a super duper star season like Kyle Connor? Kind of not a little bit of an uncharacteristically low scoring season, I guess. 65 games, 34 goals. It's actually pretty good. I don't know, maybe a slow start he had, but no one on this team is like insane. Like I put Kyle Connor on that elite level. Mark Scheifele, a perennial point per game player generally. So I really like this team, man. Forward wise, like those three lines are unreal. That's a lot to handle. Let's see what Colorado's got cooking over there. Let's just find the Colorado Avalanche. Here they are. A lot of hype. A lot of pressure here for the Colorado Avalanche. First line looking like Drouin, McKinnon, and Mikko Rantanen. Very potent offensive pair right there in Rantanen and McKinnon. They might split them up. We'll have to wait and see. But 19 goals, 51 goals, and 41 goals. Can you guess who's who? But yeah, McKinnon, super duper star, 138 points. Mikko Rantanen, a superstar in his own right. Yeah, that's they've won a cup before. They know what they're doing, so I feel like they're just going to be getting back to business. And then fucking Jonathan Drouin, man, I think the experiment was a success. 78 games, 56 points. Nothing wrong with that on a guy that's making $800,000. So well done right there. Second line, Arturi Lehkonen, Casey Middlestat, and Valeri Nichushkin. Whoa, that's a line right there. Almost as good as the Kadri line, but fuck. Casey Middlestat's been a good addition. 56 points, 18 goals, 16 goals out of Lehkonen in 44 games, so he's a goal scorer. And then Nichushkin, 26 goals in 53 games. So as long as that line stays healthy, Nichushkin doesn't disappear mid-playoffs, that is going to be one of the deadliest, most just handful of lineups. Lehkonen, super underrated player. He's awesome. And Nichushkin is a fucking animal. So watch out. Third line, they got Miles Wood, Ross Colton, and Zach Parise. Kind of forgot they signed him, but there he is. He's there. Pretty good third line. You got some grit there in Miles Wood. Colton Ross can score some goals. Got 17 this year. And Zach Parise, he's 39. So he knows a thing or two about being 39. Fourth line, Cogliano, Jakob Trenin, and Brandon Duhaime. So depth starting to, I'm not going to say falter. Cogliano's a good guy. He was a big part of their cup run. And yeah, he doesn't bring a lot of offense. Only 6 goals, 12 goals from Trenin. Trenin not bad, 12 goals. And Brandon Duhaime 5 goals. So yeah, a little bit of a top-heavy offensive lineup, but that third line's pretty fucking good, man. Zach Parise, who knows? He only got into 29 games, had 9 points, 4 goals. Not blowing us away or anything, but maybe he comes alive. That smell of the Stanley Cup, oh so close. Who knows what he can do? And then defense. Well, we got that guy called Cale Makar, and he's paired with Devon Toews still. Just one of the best, probably the best duo in the league. 89 points for Cale Makar. I'm struggling. This episode's going long, and I'm getting exposed. 21 goals for Cale Makar. Another outstanding season for him. Devon Toews, 49 points, so we know what that defensive pairing brings, just absolute carnage. They brought in Sean Walker, they brought in Josh Manson last year, or the year before. He was there. Seems like a good pair right there. I like that pair. Josh Manson, big defensive defenseman, put up some points, some goals. Sean Walker, a little bit smaller, but a little bit more points. And then their third pair, that's where it gets a little bit dicey. You got Jack Johnson and Caleb Jones. So Jack Johnson, he works in Colorado. It's not the craziest third pair right there. They don't have many people on the scratch list. They got Samuel Girard. It'd be really good if they can get that guy back in the lineup. Let's see, what's his issue? He's got a concussion problem. Unknown, what do you call that? What's the word? Unexpected. We don't know when he's coming back. How's that? And then they do have Logan O'Connor. He's also on injured reserve. He's out for the season. And then the Gabriel Landeskog situation. We still don't know if he is going to make it back for playoffs. Not 100% sure. If he does, it's going to be later. But if he does, that's going to be one of the best trade line acquisitions, is to bring your captain back into the lineup. But we know that this is a deadly team with the McKinnon factor, with Rantanen, Nichushkin. They got some really scary looking forwards, but not all the way through. They got some really scary looking defensemen, but not all the way through. And then the goaltending is the big question mark for this team. Who's starting? You got Georgiev and Annunen. So Annunen's been outstanding down this little 13-game stretch, a .925 save percentage. But is 13 games enough to gamble game 1, game 2, whatever? Or are they just going to go with the guy that they hired to do the job in Georgiev? He played 63 games, and he won 38 of them, gone down to an .897 save percentage. So I would just say that they overworked him a little bit. They've had a lot of problems with backup goaltending in Colorado. Francouz is generally always hurt, and they're always looking for another guy. And Annunen, who knows? Maybe he fucks around and helps Colorado get to a cup. We've learned that it doesn't take elite goaltending to win cups. You just need a good run from a competent goaltender sometimes, and that could be all she wrote. But in terms of who wins this one, this is extremely difficult, man. Like, really, really tough. I think it comes down to the battle of the goaltenders. Like, is Hellebuyck going to be able to hold off that offense of McKinnon and Rantanen? Is Winnipeg's defense good enough to slow him down? It's going to be hard, man. And is Winnipeg's defense or offense going to be there for the playoffs? They actually have been white hot coming into the playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets, I talked about them last week, about being really cold, and they turned that right around. Beat two of the hottest, strongest teams in the league. I think they beat Colorado 7-0, which is fucking crazy, and they shut out Dallas. So they're coming in on a high. That being said, who wins this fucking series? I'm going to go with Winnipeg because they haven't won it before, and that's as simple as it goes. I think, yeah, Colorado's probably could win it, but this one also is kind of a gamble. This can be an amazing series. I'll go Winnipeg in 7. Fuck it. I don't even care. It's not like money's on the line or anything. I'll go with Winnipeg because it's different. There you go. So that's my current predictions. I'll talk about the other two series once they're actually solidified with Vegas and Dallas. and the other two. I can't remember. But yeah, we'll talk about those ones next week. I'm exhausted. This has been one of the longer episodes I've ever done. So thank you everybody so much for listening. You're awesome in terms of what's going on in the GX Plus cast land. Definitely got to pull out the Fallout 3 for the GamerCast this week. Fallout TV show is out. Everyone's talking Fallout. It makes me want to talk about Fallout, so I'm pulling out my favorite one in Fallout 3, and that will be the GamerCast. Should be a really fun retrospective. Been writing up the just memories and stuff, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for that. Wrestling recap this week will be probably looking like a Monday release for that, and there's also the AEW pay-per-view, so that'll probably be Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. It'll be coming, though. So there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you're hitting that review and hit the stars and do all the things that you got to do to be even more awesome than you already are. Dark, gloomy day here in Canada. That's okay, I guess. It's hopefully it's a better day where you are, and this podcast is helping you out with whatever's going on, helping you get through work or boring chores or whatever. There's a Twitter page you can go follow for announcements whenever I can figure things out, what I want to do. I'll put it up there on Twitter. There's a YouTube channel, Gamer GX Videos, where I upload all of these episodes. You can watch them. Great place to drop a comment on the YouTube channel. Got any questions? Send them on in about wrestling, hockey, video games, podcasting. Doesn't matter. Send in a question. I'd love to answer it live, shout you out. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So thank you one more time, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back again with some more GX Plus Cast.